Right, now, here on Saturday Morning Live, we love to give a spotlight to amazing people who do amazing things. And today, we've got a veteran who endeavours to help those suffering from anxiety in all its various forms and manifestations.
Yes, over 3 decades, Simon Lee has established himself as a pioneer, seeking new ways to coach personal development and mental strength.
We're delighted to be joined in the studio now by Simon Lee. Congratulations, Simon.
Thank
you are
very
this
much.
week's
Good morning, both.
Greatest Britain. Now, look, there's this famous phrase, isn't it, that hard times create weak men and weak men create hard times. Is that the kind of philosophy that your work is based on?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as a child, I received a masterclass in how weak men create hard times.
Did you go through hard times as a kid?
We had 3 toxic men in the family, and they caused the family no end of grief, trauma and hardship. And at the time when you're going through it, you think, well, you can't help but fall into a victim mentality. You think, why me? Why am I going through this? But actually, I couldn't do what I do now without that masterclass.
Do you mind me asking who those men were?
Yep, it's fine. One of them was my stepfather.
Yeah.
One of them was my grandfather, and one of them was my uncle.
Right.
So they're all inner family members. And without exception, all of them, outside of the family doors, wanted to put themselves across as moral pillars of society. Always the way.
I'm so sorry to hear that you had that experience, Simon.
Oh, don't be,
But how do you turn that story around and be the man that you are today and turn what you went through into a positive? How do you do that?
Well, I think my first mentor was a guy, he's dead now, called Peter Hudson. And when I was a teenager, I didn't know I was suffering from trauma because no one spoke about it in those days. And I met this first mentor. He was quite a prolific mentor in those days. I think he saw a lot of the modern pop stars and rock stars. I won't name them, just in case. But I was talking to him about my experiences one day, and he was very cutting, and he said, you need to stop whinging and whining about your background because you've got so much energy you can create with that story. You can go out there and do so much good. And I was really angry when I heard that from him. I even pulled over on the way home. I was so angry. What I was really angry was I knew he was right.
Yeah.
I knew he was right, and I knew I had to create something with this. And that was the question, what can I do with this energy that I've got inside of me?
So what do you do now to help other men? So you've established that pretty much you can, choose to be a victim of your circumstance or use it as inspiration to do better and say, you know what, when I'm older, for example, if you had a bad childhood, I want to make sure my kids get the kind of childhood I didn't have. So how do you relay that to the people you mentor now, I guess?
Yes, I think one of the things I found out for men specifically is that therapy doesn't work. It's not just about talking about your feelings. I think that was supposed to be the panacea for men, was talk about your feelings and everything will be okay.
Why doesn't it work?
Because the men want empowerment. They want action. They want to see something that's going to make them grow and feel powerful. That's just the way men are. So if you just talk about your feelings, if you're already vulnerable when you're talking about your feelings, it just makes them more vulnerable. And so many men I coach said that therapy hasn't worked for them. So what we do, I set up something called Unlimited Courage. We talk about giving men a primary aim of courage. So we bring in philosophies such as Stoicism, our own 7 Courages, Bushido, and they love it. They love it. And I must admit, when I found it, I felt like I'd found the Holy Grail.
Wow.
Because that
is so interesting. So it's like a kinetic approach to therapy.
Absolutely.
And it's much more masculine, isn't it, in terms of approaching a problem and trying to develop as a person. And this is something that you specialise in, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then they will talk about their feelings. If they're feeling empowered, they will talk about their feelings. But it won't happen the other way around, feeling really vulnerable and then asking them to open up more and show their feelings.
So we all know that men's mental health is a bit of a taboo still, unfortunately. I think it's Men's Mental Health Week next week.
Starting on Monday, yeah.
On Monday. What tips would you give people listening and watching this now, the first steps if they feel like they need to, heal themselves? What are the kind of first steps they can do to start that path?
I would certainly say to look at your life and see what you're not addressing. What are you keeping hidden? What are your habits behind closed doors you don't want anyone else to see? What lies are you telling yourself? What lies are you telling other people? Lying is such a big thing. I think men base lives around lying to themselves about who they really are.
Is that a defence mechanism?
Absolutely. Part of the armour that goes up.
We're seeing some pictures, Simon, on the screen, if you are listening on the radio, of mixed martial arts and boxing. There are lots of different exercises. Where does this come into mental resilience and courage?
Well, Jordan Peterson once made an amazing comment that he said the best men in society, the strongest men, will be the ones that are capable of wielding a sword but choose to keep it sheathed. I love that comment because that's kind of like sums up my entire journey of teaching men that it's okay to be able to handle yourself, to know you've got that capability for chaos. But you only choose not to do it if you come from that position of confidence and the position of courage.
Yeah.
If you feel insecure about yourself, it's, as we just started the conversation with, it's the weak men that will be violent. It's the weak men that will lie, manipulate.
I've heard many people say that, even professional athletes and sportsmen. Wayne Rooney infamously said that you need that capacity for aggression inside you as long as it's used properly. Well, look, Simon, thank you so much for being with us today.